It's good to see you guys again. We are ready to start our Sunday school, so we're going to ask God to come in. We'll light our candles so we know that Sunday school has started. Well, maybe we will. There we go. There we go. We're going to open in prayer. Jesus, dear Jesus, help us to trust in you. Help us to be like children and receive your kingdom. Amen. Yeah, today's story is called Jesus Blesses the Children. And it's a story today about a real important message that God has about children. And you guys are children, so this really is about you. Lots of people like babies, like to hold babies, and like to kiss babies. And the same thing was happening to Jesus. The parents really wanted to bring their children to Jesus. He knew that the parents felt that Jesus was special. They needed his blessing. They wanted his blessing for his children. So they were bringing the children to him this day. But before we do that story, I want you to realize children back then thought of a lot different than children today. Everybody loved their children and cared about their children, but they thought about their children a little bit differently. Today, most people, I'm sure your mom and dad, they ask you, what do you think? They like your opinion. They want to engage you in what's going on. But a long time ago, and lots of times in history, children were supposed to be quiet. They weren't supposed to ask a question. They were supposed to do what they were told. Sometimes they didn't have much education. They had lots of chores. They had to do a lot to help their families. And they were supposed to just be still, not ask questions, and just do what they were told to do. So the kids, even though they were loved, they would not have been regarded as highly as you are today. So as we read this story, think about that. The children were supposed to stay away, be quiet, and do what they were told, and not have an opinion or ask questions. So this story takes place in the New Testament. Most of what we've been doing this summer has been in the Old Testament, but this is in the New Testament, and it's in Mark, number 10, chapter 10, and it starts with verse 13. So this is what we're going to read, 13 through 16. The people were bringing their little children to him, with Jesus, in order that he might touch them. But the disciples spoke sternly to them. The disciples didn't think this was a good idea. They basically wanted the people to leave Jesus alone. Don't bring your children to him. But when Jesus saw that this was happening, he was indignant and said to them, "Let the little children come to me. Do not stop them, for it is such as these that the kingdom of heaven belongs." So Jesus was indignant. Indignant means annoyed, not happy with something. So he was indignant, annoyed, didn't like what they were doing. He said, "No, let them come. Let the little children come to me. Do not stop them, for it is to such as these that the kingdom of God belongs. Truly I tell you, whoever does not receive the kingdom of God as a little child will never enter it." And then he took the children up in his arms, he laid his hands on them, and he blessed them. So that was kind of unusual. Normally the children would not have come forward. But Jesus said, "Let them come. For truly the kingdom of God is for the little children." I wonder what that means. First of all, Jesus blessed them. He took them in his arms and he blessed them. What does that really mean? Sometimes we think that, somebody's got all the toys and lives in a big house and has a swimming pool. Well, maybe they're more blessed. blessing means it's about God's love for you and being claimed by God. So you are being blessed and made holy. So as these people brought their children to Jesus, he was blessing them. So these children that weren't supposed to be seen or heard were getting God's blessing. They were getting God's blessing. So then he said, well, theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Those of you that come to me as a child, what is he talking about? Do we have to be a child to get into the kingdom of heaven? No, what he's really talking about is sometimes grown-ups, and maybe sometimes children even, they have a hard time being able to trust God. They like to take care of things themselves. They like to be in charge. And what God is saying is that we need to be able to trust God, that he's in charge. And that's what he's talking about, because sometimes we don't have to understand everything. Sometimes we don't even have to get something. We just have to trust and believe. And Jesus is saying, little children, trust and believe. So that we should be like little children. We should trust God. We should believe in him. We should follow him. We're not in charge. He is. And that's what he's saying when he says to come into the heavens like a little child. Come in with trust, with awe, and just accept that God is there, he's in charge, and he will be there for us. So, even though in that time the children were not thought of that way, and the disciples didn't want them to come, Jesus said, no, let them come, because theirs is the kingdom of heaven. It was kind of an interesting, different way that the disciples had never thought to look at the kingdom of heaven. I have some fun facts, too, about that time. As we just said, in that time, children were treated very differently. They were not supposed to have an opinion or talk or even come. So it was different that Jesus allowed that. And another thing that's kind of interesting is there's very little about Jesus in the Bible when he was a kid. There's only one story. So even Jesus didn't get the recognition as a child that he probably would have today. In biblical times, childhood also ended way sooner. In fact, some of you are almost old enough that you would not really have had childhood anymore. You would have had to gone out and work. You might have even gotten married. People as young as 13 or 14 were out working, making money for their families. They weren't in school. They weren't playing baseball. They were out working, because in that time, the children were